Hi friends, it's Miracle, and today I want to bring you my first book haul of the year. When the year just started, I looked back to all the new books I bought last year and I thought, maybe I'll do fine with seasonal book hauls. But then I failed to recognize that last year I didn't buy a lot of books because I didn't read so actively and I was absent from booktube most of the time. So this year I quickly realized that my new books are getting a little bit out of hand. So I think now is a good time to do my first book haul of the year to keep everything on record, because book haul is one of the ways that I keep track of my new books. And now without further ado, let's dive into the haul. Firstly, I have 3 books I have already read and wrapped up in January. I'll just quickly mention them here. If you're interested in details of them or the review, I'll leave the review down below. Firstly, I have Jokes for the Young Man by Mazen Maarouf, translated by Jonathan Wright. This is a short story collection set during the Lebanese civil war. It's dark and twisting. Then I have Lebanon, A Country in Fragments by Andrew Arsan. This is a history book about the recent history about Lebanon after the civil war. I learned so much from it. Following, I bought Born on Crime by Trevor Noah. This is Trevor Noah's memoir that I didn't expect that I love so much. I actually listened to it on audio and I just have to get a physical copy because I want to reread it and also take notes. And now let's talk about the books that I did wrap up. Firstly, I have Matrix by Lauren Groff. This book is on everyone's favorite books of 2021 list. Literally everywhere, even on Barack Obama's list. This is a historical fiction talking about a woman called Marie who is casted out by the royal court because of her personality and sent to England to be a new prioress of an abbey in which the nuns are on the urge of starvation and on the beset of diseases. To my understanding, this is about her growth and creativity, but besides that, I don't really know much about it, and I just trust everybody's opinion on that. I think my major thing about this book is to manage my own anticipation level of it. And then I got a chunky book. It's To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. This is the author who also wrote the book A Little Life, which is also a lot of people's favorite, and I heard it's completely heartbroken. I, as a person who loved heartbreaking literature and even made a video about it, I have not read A Little Life, and I think I should actually, but I'm really curious about her newer work as well, and this one is equally heartbreaking, and I've seen so many people reading it and they even vlogged how they cried for it, and I've heard so many people was set off because of it, but I'm not afraid of a heartbreaking literature and I got this one. This book has 3 sections set in 1893, 1993, and 2093, and they intertwined somehow, and it's about love, fear, need, and loneliness, and all of that. This book is chunky, like I said, but that actually nowadays makes me weirdly excited. Then I have 一袖志 by Yan Ge. This is the Chinese copy of the very popular book on BookTube now called Strange Beast in China, and weirdly the title in Chinese just means Strange Beast Catalog. Remind me of how Chandler in Friends said all the Chinese food in China, they're just called food. Anyhow, this book is set in a fictional city called Yong'an, talking about an amateur cryptozoologist who's determined to find out the stories of the fabled beasts that lived alongside of humans. But quickly, the adventure turns into a mystery and a threat, so it's part of a detective story, part of a metaphorical inquiry, which is very fascinating. Then I got How to Lose a Country, The 7 Steps from Democracy to Dictatorship by Ece Temelkuran. I have actually already read this. This is part of my political TBR, and I buddy read it with Nicole from Nicole is Here to Learn. This book is talking about the alarming increasing signs of nationalism and polarism all over the world now, especially focusing on the Western country. The author actually witnessed how Turkey lost its democracy over the years, and she analyzed the situation and put out a very informative book as this one. More on that in the wrap-up. Then I got White Rage by Carl Anderson. This is a book on my February TBR, and I haven't started it yet because February is so far very chaotic. And this is the author's response to the media's comments about Black rage. It's talking about how white rage in America is at work today, with so many tensions on its flame and everybody has ignoring the kindling. I have been eyeing on this one for a very long time, and I picked up this copy for the Black History Month, and I'm still determined to finish it this month. Then I have a book that was kindly sent to me by Andrea Burnett PR. It's Remembering Shanghai, a memoir of socialites, scholars, and scoundrels. It's written by a pair of mother and daughter, the mother being Isabel Sun Chao and the daughter is Claire Chao. Isabel was born in Shanghai and moved to Hong Kong in the 1950s and stayed ever since. And Claire was born and raised in Hong Kong, but they both identify as Shanghainese. In this book, they trace back to their 5 generations of families and also their connections of Shanghai and talking about their stories. Isabel Sun Chao's middle name is Sun Ying, and she's the sister of a very profound Chinese writer called Sun Fen, and their family is actually one of the last powerful and very strong families before the founded of the recent China. So I'm really interested in their stories, and thanks for Andrea Burnett PR for sending me this book. And speaking of China or Asia, I have The Makings of Asian America, A History by Erika Lee. This is a book that I plan to read in May, which is the AAPI Heritage Month in the America, and I have so many reasons I wanted to read this book. Firstly, as a Chinese who's living in America, I have this feelings that is getting stronger and stronger day by day, is that the fact that I can even be here, stay here, and live here is based on generations and generations of people's hard work, especially when we're considering that just a little over a century ago, there's a Chinese Exclusion Act that is taking place on this land. This feeling is getting so strong, so I want to learn the history of Asian America. Another reason being that nowadays in America, the hate crime against or towards Asia is increasing rapidly every day, especially in some major cities like New York City or San Francisco, which is also the cities that are famous for their inclusive and openness. I see horrible news every day about elderly people getting beaten up or young women getting stalked and stabbed to death. So horrible, so enraging, and makes me so tiresome, but also makes me want to learn more about the history of Asian America and also see how that actually impacted and shaped the American culture. And the Asian American book leads to the topic of identity. And speaking of identity, I got a book called Identity. It's by Francis Fukuyama. The subtitle of the book is called The Demand for Dignity and the Politics of Resentment. I was reading another book by Fukuyama called The Origins of Political Order, and then I watched a video about this book by Lucy from the channel Lulu Bananas. I'll link her channel and the video down below. I think she's a fairly new booktuber, but I loved her content. This is a discussion about identity and talking about how the recognition of one's identity is a master concept of unifying our politics today, but it's also challenged by the narrower forms of recognition. Personally, I think about identity all the time, and I also in the middle of a very long identity crisis, if I may, just being the fact that I'm a person living overseas on a foreign land. And also I was thinking about, is there a point that foreign land stopped being so foreign because I've stayed here for a very long time? Anyhow, I have so many questions, so this will be a book that I read very, very soon. And then I got another book by Fukuyama. See how one book leads to another book in this haul? It's this one. And no, I didn't buy a book twice. This is Political Order and Political Decay. This is the follow-up of his book, The Origins of Political Order. They have similar designs, and I bought both of them secondhand, so when I saw this copy secondhand, I just can't pass the chance to buy it. And that marks the end of my political train that I didn't intend to start in this video. And then I have a poetry collection called Time by Etel Adnan, translated by Sarah Riggs. I found this book when I was researching for Lebanon, and Lentel is a Lebanese American poet, but the interesting thing about her is that she once abandoned poetry and became a painter who resists the political implication of writing in French, and I found the whole concept very fascinating, so I dropped into the rabbit hole of researching her work, both paintings and poetry, and got this one. Lastly are 3 books that are all on my February TBR. The first one is The Watchmaker of Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley. I got this book because I want to join the read-along of this book that hosted by Kitty from Books and Things. This is a historical fiction set in 1883 and focused on a man who found a pocket watch on his pillow one day, but the pocket watch actually saved his life. So after that, he went on the journey of finding the makers of the pocket watch. And as I'm filming this, the read-along actually already started and I'm already behind on schedule, so I'm hoping to catch up during the weekend. Then I have Possum at Journey's End by Erik, Fosnes, Hansen. This is a book translated from Norwegian to English by Joan, Tate. This is the book club pick from the Nordic book club that I'm in, and it's a retelling of Titanic from the perspective of the bands on the ship. Lastly, I have a book in Chinese called 世界上所有的夜晚 by 池子健. The title translates to All the Nights in the World, and 池子健 is an author that I loved really much. I enjoyed her work The Last Quarter of the Moon, and this is her latest work. It's a collection of 4 novellas or short stories, and I just want to read something beautifully written in Chinese, so I got this one. And that's all the books I have in this haul. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know any of your thoughts regarding to these books. Have you heard of any of them, or have you read any of them? And don't forget to say hi in the comment section down below. Thumbs up to this video if you liked it. I wish you happy reading, stay healthy. I'll see you in my next bookish video. Bye!